Good day everyone, my name is Ian Kapalog and I'm from Group 7. Now our topic is about Chapter 7. Chapter 7 topics: Other contemporaries, Retraction of Rizal, Reason for Retraction, Major Arguments of Retraction, Case against the Retraction, Cry of Pugadlawin or Balintawak, the Masangkay exposed on the cry, Pantas in the Masangkay cry exposed. Now I will be discussing the other contemporaries. The, and the other contemporaries, it refers about the Cavite Mutiny, which is happened on 1872. And brief explanation lang, two major events on 1872 is Cavite Mutiny and the martyrdom of the three priests. And the Cavite Mutiny is the uh, re- revolution of the Filipino workers in the Cavite Arsenal. And in other contemporaries, nag-refer sa two person that give a brief information about the Cavite Mutiny which is not entirely related. First, Apolinario Mabini. Second, Salvador Pons. And both spoke briefly about the events of 1872 in connection with their writings. Salvador Pons, an Augustinian friar, wrote a two work which is the Defensa del Clero Filipino. This reproduces Plausius' accounts and for the rest contains no fact that could not be found in Montero y Vidal, and indeed it is in general short on facts. And the second is El Clero Filipino, contains a series of biographies and bibliographies of outstanding Filipino secular priests, among them Burgos and Gomez. So El Clero Filipino refers to the Filipino clergy, meaning the Filipino clergy refers to the movement advocating for Filipino priests to head parishes. So which is amo ni ang ilang gi-present sa Spanish government na ang Filipino priest can be the head of the parishes, which is in that time ang head sa parish is ang mga Spanish friar. Next, Apolinario Mabini, born on July 23, 1864 in Tanawan, Batangas. Worked as a teacher of Latin at Colegio de San Juan de Letran. He completed his Bachelor of Arts in 1887 and he earned his law degree from University of Santo Tomas in 1894. And he is the brain of the revolution. Apolinario Mabini has experienced polio in his both legs in 1896, and Apolinario Mabini was the first Prime Minister of the Philippines and published the La Revolucion Filipina, which is daghan pa jud siya gi-publish na work, but ang ako lang gibutang na example is La Revolucion Filipina because it is related to our topic. Sa chapter sa chapter sa La Revolucion Filipina, nag-state sa naay usa ka chapter na nag-state si Apolinario Mabini about the Gomburza. So Mabini makes no claim to have first-hand knowledge of the events, but without taking any position on the cause of revolt, states clearly that the three priests were innocent of it. So gisulti nga kanang niangkon siya nga dili siya primary source or wala siya nagsuwat og full account of Cavite Mutiny, but gi-state niya nga based sa iyang mga na observe sa Philippines that the three priests were innocent of it. And Mabini's chapter is not a narrative but rather a discussion of the place of the martyr priest. So nag-state siya sa discussion of the place of the martyr priest nag-refer siya sa account ni Plausiot. From his reference to Burgos' protest of his innocent on the scaffold, it would seem that he is dependent on the account of Plausiot, whose translation was published in La Solidaridad, while Mabini was intimately involved with the newspaper support in Manila. So which is dili siya wala siya na present sa Cavite Mutiny, but aware siya na nahitabo na Cavite Mutiny because of the Plausiot's account, na publish ang Plausiot's account. So ang ikatulong account natong itakol is Manuel Artigas E. Cuerva. Major work is Los Successos de 1872, and it was written in Manila. It is the fullest account of Cavite Mutiny. Sa Artigas as a historian, so ibutang there, Artigas does not cite sources of his documents, and the tendency of his work to accumulate info of all kinds without giving evidence of critical evaluation. So nabantayan sa ibang mga historian na si Artigas is dili siya maghatag og kanang sources kung asa niya gikuha ang iyang mga documents, mga evidence na iya gi-cite sa iyang kuhaan og idea about sa iyang accounts or sa iyang mga published works, and that the tendency of his work to accumulate info of all kinds without giving evidence of critical evaluation. So wala siya naghatag sa kada sources na makuha niya, is wala niya gi-evaluate if it is reliable or kanang related ba sa kanang sa iyang idea nga, or related ba siya sa Cavite Mutiny na iya gi buhatan og kanang perspective or account. With Artigas, the published history of the events of 1872 based on immediate knowledge or direct information come to an end. So as Artigas is working on National Archive collection, which is a museum that having a collection of documents that is about the history or bas important documents ang gi-collect nga, nag-work siya na siya access sa mga documents na hapit na ma-disappear o ma-instinct. So mao nang naa siya documents nga dili na ma-access sa museum or sa National Archive collection, but ma-access sa iyang mga accounts or volume. Of all those existing, Artigas account combines the maximum info, documentation, and detail with at least minimum critical treatment of his sources. So tanan existing Artigas account combines the maximum info, documentation, and detail with at least minimum critical treatment of his sources. Finally, Artigas takes up both the regular version on the one hand and selection from the Pierna Vieja and the Echegoyen version on the other, and combines them into one account. In his selection, either the contradiction between regular accounts and those of the excerpted documents escape him, or he simply chose to ignore them. So, sa Artigas na account is nag-rely siya sa duha ka account, which is actually tulo, which is ka Regidor's accounts and sa ka Pernabeja and the Echegoyen version, or Pernabeja and the Echegoyen accounts. Iya gi-combine ang mga idea sa bawat accounts para ma-state nga ang tinuod na nahitabo. So nakabutang po dire, he cites Regidor for the assertion that the promoter of mutiny were the two peninsular officers Montesinos and Morquejo, the lay brother of the Order of San Juan de Dios, Fray Antonio Rufian, and Father Juan Gomez. So iya gi-cite na ang iyang source is Regidor na nakabutang sa account ni Regidor is Ang promoters sa mutiny were the two peninsular officers, Montesinos and Marquejo, and Fray Antonio Rufián and Father Juan Gomez. Sila ang nagmanipulate sa mga tao nga mo revolt because of the removing of the privilege of the workers. So matakol na to na unya. So Artigas continued, everything mentioned by Senor Regidor is rigorously exact according to the testimony we have gathered on our trips for some years past from several of those who were involved in the events of 1872. So iyang gi-studyhan ang mga gi-mention ni Senor Regidor sa iyang account na iya gi-studyhan if it is true and reliable. So, nagatag siya nangita siya evidence na and testimony na mag-prove na kanang exact jud ang iyang gihatag sa iyang account. So what is more, it is said with all the signs of probability, for all are in agreement on those details, and we make mention of this elsewhere in this book, that a person in the garb of a secular priest with a strong resemblance to Dr. Burgos went about various houses of Manila and Kawit. This person tried to convince people of the need of support from all social classes to bring about a revolt in the near future. So dire na masud sa ang issue na naay nag-impersonate ka Burgos. Natako sa account ni Chigoyen kung unsay identity, but not entirely the name, but nagatag lang sila kanang clue kung unsay possible nga kinsay possible nga nag-impersonate ka Burgos. And the remark cited from Trinidad H. Pardo de Tavera that Artigas was a Cajón Desastre is not completely unfair, though he did attempt to apply historical criticism to his sources at times, as in the case of some of the extravagances and inconsistencies of Regidor. He cannot be termed a critical historian. So unsa din yung Cajón Desastre? Cajón Desastre that translates to tailor's drawer or rag bag. So refers to a collection of miscellaneous or unrelated items. So gisulti ni Tavera nga ang kana na account is compilation ra sa mga unrelated na mga information or unrelated na mga idea which is not related sa sa iyang point, because wala siya mag-apply og historical criticism. Ang pasabot niri is si Artigas. So Artigas was a Cajón Desastre. So again, Trinidad cited na si Artigas is wala maghatag og kanang exact nga criticism if it is reliable or true ang mga information na iyang gihatag, because of Artigas does not cite any sources of his document. So move ta ka Antonio Regidor, born on April 16, 1845 in Manila, and studied at Colegio de San Juan de Letran and later at the University of Santo Tomas, where he earned his law degree. Regidor furthered his education in Spain, obtaining a degree in civil and canon law from the Universidad Central in Madrid. So amo nang brief information about kang Antonio Regidor, or background. Regidor for the assertion that the promoters of the mutiny were the two peninsular officer Montesinos and Marquejo, which is gisite na ni Artigas nga gikan jud na ka Regidor nga account kanang ang promoters sa mutiny were the two Peninsular officer Montesinos. Kauban na tong lay brothers na si Fray Antonio Rufian and ang katong usa nga in Brigadier Fuller's account of 1900s, Father Juan Gomez is rather said to have used Zaldua to stir up the workers of the arsenal to resist the removal of their privilege, and to have used Rufian to incite Lieutenants Marquejo and Montesino to lead the artillerymen in support of the arsenal workers. So, sa Regidor's account, gi-state na ilang gigamit si Zaldua. Kinsa din si Zaldua? Based sa akong na-research sa Zaldua na relate sa Zaldua na sa Cavite Mutiny event, Governor General Rafael Rodriguez Zaldua was Governor General of Philippines from 1871 to 1874. So, usa siya ka Governor General. Rather said to have used Zaldua to stir up the workers of the arsenal to resist the removal of the privilege, and to have used Rufian to incite Lieutenant Marquejo and Montesino to lead the artillerymen in support of the arsenal workers. So, si Rufian ang nag-contact pod sa or ang kanang communicate ka sa duha ka lieutenant officer na si Marquejo and Montesino to lead the artillerymen in support of the arsenal. So, move ta sa Edmond Plausut, a French journalist and writer, and complemented Tavera's account and analyzed the motivation of 1872 Cavite Mutiny. Related gihapon kay usa sa nagatag og kanang account about sa Cavite Mutiny. So, mga brief information ni about sa account ni Edmond Plausut. Confirmed that the event happened due to discontentment of the arsenal workers and soldiers in Cavite. And the event is just a simple mutiny, since up to that time the Filipinos have no intention of separation from Spain but only secure materials indication advancement in the country. Also, in this time, the central government deprived friars of the powers of involvement in civil government and in governing and handling universities. So, gi-state sa iyang account nga ang mga Cavite workers, arsenal workers, wala sila magbuhat og mutiny or wala sila nag-cause og revolt because they want to separate to Spanish government. They want to gusto nila mabalik ang kanilang mga rights, which is the privilege na gi-remove ni Governor Rafael Izquierdo. So, this resulted in the friars, afraid that their leverage in the Philippines would be a thing in the past, took advantage of the mutiny and reported it to the Spanish government as a broad conspiracy organized throughout the archipelago with the object of abolishing Spanish sovereignty. So, sa nabantayan ninyo, same sila og kanang perspective ni Tavera, which is ang perspective ni Tavera is dili ang cause sa mutiny is because of removing of their privilege, not to fight against Spanish government, or walay hinungdan para mo fight sila na kanang wala sila nag-revolt to fight and separate from the Spanish government. And gigamit ang pagpatay sa tulo ka pari nga gumborsa para ipakita sa mga tao nga still ang Spanish government ang kanang mamuno or mao ni ang hinungdan, mao ni ang mahitabo if mo fight sila sa Spanish government, which is ila gigamit tong paggarote sa tulo ka pari na si Juan Jacinto Zamora, Jose Burgos, and Mariano Gomez. So sa further analyze nato nga Juan independent katong sa analyze na nasa libro, ako lang siyang sa tawag sa gi-summarize and rephrase para mas masabtan. So independent accounts, only 3 accounts, those of Montero y Vidal, Regidor, and Pardo de Tavera, are considered truly independent and worthy of serious study. So sa tanan account natong i-discuss, which is ang Montero y Vidal, which is the Spanish perspective, and Regidor is present sa Cavite Mutiny, which is gipakulong siya sa Guam because of kanang usa siya sa mga suspects sa mga hinungdan nganong nagka-Cavite Mutiny, because some of the people in Cavite Mutiny happenings are tanan mga gitan-aw nila nga aray kanang sa tawag sa kanang suspect sa kanang Cavite Mutiny or promoter or nag-lead sa Cavite Mutiny, which is ila gipapreso. Ang iba is ila gipapatay sa mga Spanish. So si Regidor is usa sa mga gipapreso and nagbuhat siyang account based on her experience. Kay ila gitanaw nga ang account ni Regidor is nag-rely only sa iyang memories, sa iyang mga experience, and diri ni si Artigas nga possible nga ang account ni Regidor is ang pagbuhat sa account ni Regidor is iyang gibuhat-buhatan og storya ang mga Spanish friars, iya parang gidaot or iyang gihimo nga bad side. Kay possible na mahitabo kay because Regidor is only relying on his beautiful memory. So this state nga si Regidor is nag-rely sa iyang relied much on that beautiful memory which Providence granted him, but which on occasions was unfaithful. This is the reason for the deficiencies which can be found in his writing. So amo ni na si Regidor is possible kanang naay part sa iyang account na dili tinuod or dili kanang because what kanang basin nakalimtan niya na iya lang gyapon gipadayon. So mao nang gitanong ni Artigas nga possible nga ang hinungdan sa deficiency sa iyang account is because of relying so much on his memory. Arita sa Plausiot accounts is deemed largely derivative of Regidor. So sa account ni Plausiot makita gyapon na tanan sa account ni regidor, which is mura ra sila nag-rely na ilagi punanog idea, but mostly three accounts are considered nga kanang reliable or pwede mahimong sources. Sa number 2, official and alternative views. So nabahin sa duha ka views ang mga accounts. So Montero's account supports the official view of the mutiny as a part of wider independence movement. So ang account ni Montero is kanang ang idea sa account ni Montero is a mutiny is a part of kanang part siya sa mas dako pa nga revolution, or ang Cavite Mutiny is a first part para matuman nila ang kanang mas mapadayon nila ang pagpalaganap sa Philippine National Revolution. So sa stated naman sa chapter 6 nga if walay Cavite Mutiny, walay Philippine Revolution. Kaya ang Cavite Mutiny happens on 1872 and the Philippine Revolution happens on 1896. And sa Regidor and Pardo de Tavera dispute, this Alto Regidor's account contain improbable details. So because daghan man sila kanang perspective na lain, but mostly same sila sa perspective na ang Cavite Mutiny naitabo kay dili kay ganahan sila nga dili sila naitabo kay ganahan sila nga mo separate, which is ang ganahan lang jud nila is to anang mabalik ang ilang mga privilege, katong tanan nila as workers, as right nila as workers mabalik. So dito sa number 3, partial accounts. Pastel and Gavantes accounts partially reject Montero's interpretation but don't fully endorse the local mutiny theory. So kaning duha ka account dili sila mo tuo nga kanang tinuod tong perspective ni Montero, kay mas dagag kanang evidence, mostly mas dagag accounts ang Philippine perspective na ang mutiny is kanang wala jud unta sila plano nga maka-revolt. Number 4, reliability of account. Pardo de Tavera's account seen as the most reliable despite its anti-prior bias and omission of De La Torre's suspicious of Filipino reformists. Montero's account contains many details about the revolt and execution, but it is biased against Filipinos and assumes a revolutionary conspiracy. So, because nagka-issue ang kanang reliability of account because of different perspective. Pardo de Tavera, yung perspective anti-prior bias, and the Montero account is bias against Filipinos. So medyo question ang duha ka account, which is kaning Filipino perspective and the Spanish perspective. And prior conspiracy allegation. The idea of prior conspiracy to provoke the revolt originates solely from Regidor's accounts, which contains demonstrably false statements and contradicts later confession obtained through torture. However, the text acknowledged that many conservative Spaniards, including Prias, were suspicious of Filipino reformists. So, is dako gyapon conspiracy nga daghan gyapon pangutana ang sa Regidor's account, kay usa si Regidor is present sa year na nahitabo ang Cavite Mutiny, but na siya sa presohan, but present siya before may tabo ang kabiti-matini kay usaman siya sa nahimong suspect. So and naay mga false statement na nabutang sa account kay because ang mga statement nga contradict sa ilang mga contradict sa tinuod na naitabo. So confession obtained through torture. So kuha sila information through torture and and sa number 6, Artigas account is comprehensive but relies heavily on Regidor and other unreliable sources, limiting its reliability. It's useful but requires critical evaluation of its sources. So ang Artigas account is kanang nabantayan man nato sa igbasa nato sa Artigas account, which is mas daghan siya kanang nakuha nga idea sa or nakuha siya kanang information sa account ni Regidor, which is tinuod ni nga nag-rely siya pagmayo sa Regidor's na account and other unreliable sources na ang state sa libro is unreliable sources, which is the Pierna Beja and Echigoyen account. So kaya naa sa Echigoyen account, which is about sa impersonator nga gi-state sa Echigoyen account na ang impersonator ni Burgos. The impersonator is made to be a known Franciscan. So it could be a Recoleto. In the Hong Kong propaganda pamphlet, a few weeks later, the impostor is identified as the Recoleto parish priest of Santa Cruz, Zambales. So kaning Hong Kong propaganda pamphlet, based sa akong na research nag-research, nagkuha kog information sa site na Istodoko, which is ang nag-publish sa Hong Kong propaganda pamphlet kay si Jose Basa, but correct me if I'm wrong. Nag-publish og kanang pamphlet na naay information about the impersonator of Burgos. At gi-state naman sa Echigoyen nga identified as Recoleto parish priest of Santa Cruz, Zambales. So possible na ang impersonator ni Burgos is Filipino kay saman ka Recoleto parish priest or basta naa sa present sa kabiti-matini pero wala gi state kung kinsa, wala pa under investigation pa ang na issue. So nganong daghan man og kanang account ang na-publish. So ang main conclusion lang sa topic nga other contemporaries is ang mga about sa different accounts, which is ka Tavera, ka Artigas, ka Regidor, and ka Plausiot. So based sa ilang mga account is na mga account nga kanang nag-rely sa laing account, na account na kanang lack of kanang criticism, na account na kanang nag-rely sa unreliable sources, which is kanang useful in rewriting the history. Kung sa mga historian is gamit yun nila ang daghan nga source, which is mga published nga account na maghatag og kanang idea kung unsa joy nahitabo sa history, unsay nahitabo on that time, kanang unsay mga maong ang mga historian, which is kailangan jud na ay kanang criticism or gamit og 6 Cs na mag-identify if the sources is reliable or not. And if reliable, what is the information behind on it? So tanan sources is kanang useful, tanan accounts useful, even na ay mga issue nga dili siya reliable. At least ang mga historian ma-compare kung unsay kalahian, unsay kanang unsay difference, and kanang ilang kanang kapareho, unsay. Having so many accounts is better or good in constructing the history. So as article means that it is impossible to write unsatisfactory account of the Cavite Mutiny without the use of other published accounts. None of them offers a fully narrative or explanation of the event. The publication archive sources in the last few years gives us new basis on which to reconstruct the history. It can be used in the basis of the earlier accounts. We unlikelihood find the original court-martial of those who condemned in 1872, so these earlier accounts must provide basic framework or can be basis in which the reconstruction of history. So state sa akong gibasa nga not all the accounts provide a full information. So nadyo'y part na kanang nagbase sila sa unreliable sources, but it is still useful kay pwede nila mahimong basihan ang mga accounts to construct the history. So kuan lang ta kanang feedback, kanang ato lang balikon para mas masabtan. So ang account ni Artigas is mostly nagrely sa Regidor's account, and Edmund Plauchot mostly tanan niya mga information is makita ang Regidor nga account. And the Filipino perspective, which is kang Trinidad Pardo de Tavera, and sa Spanish perspective, which is ka Montero y Vidal. Ang lahi lang jug idea is kaning Spanish perspective and Filipino perspective. And about sa 2, Apolinario Mabini and Father Salvador Pons na mention na kanang ang ilang gihatag is a brief explanation lang or kanang brief information about the Cavite Mutiny, which is connected gamay. And na-mention ang Piano Vieja and Echegoyen account, which is gi-state sa ila account based sa other contemporaries nga part gi-mention sa Piano Vieja and Echegoyen account ang about sa impersonator ni Burgos, if naabi dyan nag-impersonate ka Burgos to stir up the mutiny or encourage the people to revolt, which is na gi-state sa libro na the impersonator is kanang nag-house to house sa Manila and Kawit para makig-istorya sa mga tao na if need sila kanang support para sa mutiny for the future revolution. So and maora, and next naton topic ako gyapon i-discuss ang sa retraction of Rizal. So, ang ako man i-discuss is intro part ra nga kuan. So, sulti ni Rizal na I retract with all my heart whatever in my words, writings, publications, and conductas been contrary to my character as a son of the Catholic Church. So, gi-state po sa account ni state sa sulti ni Rizal na ma-retract siya sa iyang mga publication, mga writings, mga iyang ipangsulti na against sa Catholic Church. May mga reason nga nung nag-retract and may mga arguments na naghatag nga ni-retract si Rizal. So, sulti rin, several historians report that Rizal retracted his anti-Catholic ideas through a document. So, naa daw document nga nag-retract si Rizal na naghatag og kanang information na si Rizal ni-retract og unsay mga hinungdan nga nung ni-retract siya. For decades, the authenticity of Jose Rizal retraction documents have raised issues, skepticism, and heated debates among those who seek to know the truth regarding this controversy. So, naay mga historian nga nag-debate if si Rizal ni-retract or wala. Napay naghatag og kanang kung asa jud nag-retract si Rizal, asa na simbahan, asa na naay mga sources nga maghatag nga si Rizal ni-retract dira na simbahan, and mostly si Rizal ni-retract may kanang mas major nga controversy nga ni-retract si Rizal. So, however, the lack of evidence and different statement or na different statement by significant people involved na only contributed to the complication and uncertainty which envelop this peer argument. So, still it is an argument na wala pa matuod. So, dagag reason kuwangan pa sila sa evidence nga nung if ni-retract si Rizal. So, sa next topic matakol ang reason and the major arguments of retraction. And thank you.
Now I will discuss the reasons for retraction. To save his family and town from further persecution. Rizal feared that his family would face further hardship and persecution from the Spanish authorities if he refused to comply with the church demands. The retraction was intended to mitigate this threat. Rizal may have been told that he faced the dilemma of signing the retraction or having his relatives pursued by further persecutions. Since he hoped his death would stop the persecution of his relatives, the retraction may have seemed to him to be the only way of achieving that purpose. Next, to give Josephine a legal status as a wife. The marriage to give Josephine a legal status as a wife, the church alumni Rizal marriage with Josephine Bracken. Gusto ni Rizal ikasal sa simbahang katolika ni Josephine Bracken bago siya ipapatay, but nagkaroon ng kondisyon si Father Balaguer. Father Balaguer yung magbibless sa kanila para ikasal. And according to Father Balaguer, kailangan mo na pirmahan yung retraction document para sila ikasal. Dahil ayaw payagan ng simbahang katoliko na ikasal sila hanggat hindi niya mapipirmahan yung retraction document. Next, major arguments of retraction. The retraction document discovered in 1935 is considered chief witness to the reality of retraction. The retraction document discovered in 1935 is considered the chief witness of retraction since discovered in 1935. The retraction document is considered the chief witness to the reality of retraction itself. In fact, since then, by words of implication, the defenders have said the burden of proof now rests with those who question the retraction. So ito yung pinapahawakan sa Catholic Church para doon sa mga taong hindi naniniwala na magkaroon ng retraction sa Rizal. Next is the acts of faith, hope, and charity. Acts of faith, hope, and charity reportedly recited and signed by Dr. Jose Rizal as attested by witnesses. And a signed prayer book. This is a very strong testimony. It's true. For Rizal was giving us our cert to Roman Catholic, teaching not in a general way as in the case of the retraction statement, but specifically to a number of beliefs which he had previously repudiated. According to the testimony of Father Balaguer, following the signing of the retraction, a prayer book was offered to Rizal. He took the pen and saying Credo, which means I believe. He signed the acts with his name in the book itself. What was it Rizal signed? It is worth quoting in detail. And the act of faith. The signed prayer book was amongst the documents discovered by Father Garcia along with the retraction. So itong libro na Acts of Hope and Charity, ito yung libro na in-offer kay Rizal matapos niya pirmahan ang retraction document.
Good day everyone. Today, I'm going to discuss about the case against the retraction. There are evidences or point of view of the Rizalist or yung mga naniniwala na di naman nagkaroon ng retraction si Rizal. The first evidence is presented by the people believe that Rizal did not retract is that the retraction document is forgery or peke. As pointed out by Dr. Ricardo R. Pascual, the handwriting on the retraction is questionable, citing inconsistencies between the retraction document and known Rizal writing. He suggested the document forgery and parang isang tao lang ang gumawa at gumaya lang ng multiple signers. Dr. Jose I. Del Rosario responded by arguing Pascual used too small sample and concluded the handwriting was genuine. But even Del Rosario's work had some errors. Second, mayroong dalawang main version of the text with significant differences like Iglesia Católica and Iglesia, raising concerns about authenticity. Some suggest copying errors, others suspect fabrication using an incorrect version of the retraction formula. Third, critics point out peculiarities in the document's wordings such as Rizal's expression of a desire to live and die in the Catholic religion shortly before his execution and the assertion that his retraction was spontaneous, which some implausible given the circumstances. Fourth, ang nagpatunay na peke daw ang retraction ay ang pag-amin ng taong gumawa ng peke na dokumento kay Antonio Q. Abad noong August 13, 1901. Sinabi niya doon na napag-utusan lang ang taong ito at binayaran siya ng mga friars para gumawa ng pekeng retraction at gumawa ng maraming kopya. Second evidence, the other acts and facts do not fit well with the story of the retraction. And some of the following are: the retraction document was not made public until 1935. So hindi siya lumabas bago mag 1935. Hindi siya na-publicize, and ang dagdag pa dito, kahit yung family ni Rizal or yung mga taong malapit sa kanya, hindi rin nila nakita yung document ng retraction. It was said to be lost. Next, there was no effort to save Rizal from the death penalty after his signing of the retraction. So may point din siya kasi kung talagang nag-retract si Rizal, binawi niya na lahat ng sinabi niya about Catholic Church at binawi niya na rin lahat ng criticism niya sa Spanish government, din sana hindi siya pinapatay or di natuloy yung kanyang death penalty. Kaya lang, walang nangyaring ganon. Third evidence, Rizal's burial was kept secret and hindi siya nabigyan ng magandang libingan. Inilibing siya outside the Paco Cemetery and ang nakahanap sa kanyang labi ay ang kanyang kapatid na si Narcisa after 2 days ng kanyang execution, December 30, 1896. Fourth evidence, there is no marriage certificate of public record of the marriage of Rizal with Josephine Bracken. So walang nakita na certificate na magpapatunay na kinasal nga sa simbahang Katoliko si Josephine at Rizal. Fifth evidence, Rizal's behavior as a whole during his last 24 hours before his execution. Sa kanyang masterpiece at mga letters na binigay niya sa mga taong malalapit sa kanya, especially sa kanyang family, walang nagsasabi o magpapatunay na siya ay nagbalik loob na or walang nagpapatunay na nagkaroon ng retraction. The last evidence presented by those people who believe that Rizal did not retract is that the retraction itself is out of character. It is not in keeping with Rizal's character and faith. Incongruent and irrelevant siya sa mga statement na nabanggit niya before regarding sa kanyang pananaw when it comes to religion, while biographer, historians, and students on the life, words, and writings of Rizal is divided on the issue of retraction. It cannot be denied that this issue neither adds or diminishes his greatness as a Filipino. Rizal's contribution to the nation building makes the people revere him. The retraction has been an issue for a very long time. Even up to this day, kung talaga nga bang binawi ni Rizal ang kanyang mga sinabi, lahat ng kanyang mga nailimbag na aklat against sa Catholic Church and against sa Spanish official. The next topic is about the cry of Pugadlawin or Balintawak. What does cry mean? The term cry is translated from the Spanish El Grito de Rebelión or El Grito for short, which means cry for rebellion. The first cry is generally signified as the first call for rebellion. It is marked as the beginning of Philippine Revolution or seeking of independence for the Philippines from Spanish colonial rule with the use of violence in arms. It is also the initial move of the Filipinos to fight against the Spanish regime. How did it started? With the initiative of Andres Bonifacio and other Katipuneros, they established a Philippine Revolutionary Organization, kataas-taasan, kagalang-galangan, katipunan na mga anak ng bayan, commonly known as Katipunan or KKK, and was established on July 7, 1892. Its primary goal is to gain independence from Spanish through revolution. The Katipunan was a secret organization that was discovered on August 19, 1896, which led by Andres Bonifacio to start the Philippine Revolution, which is now called as the First Cry. Significant event in the First Cry. The First Cry is not just the cry for rebellion. There are two important events that happened in the First Cry. We have here the first event, the tearing up of community tax certificates or cedula. We all know that during the Spanish administration, cedula is very important to all Filipinos since it is a mandatory identification card during the Spanish colonial period in the Philippines. However, during the first cry, the members of Katipunan, led by Andres Bonifacio, gathered to tear up their cedulas. The tearing up of cedulas symbolizes the termination of Katipuneros' loyalty to Spanish regime. Along with the tearing of cedula was accompanied by patriotic shout, "Viva la Independencia Filipina" or "Long Live Philippine Independence," which is another essential event during the first cry. The shout was meant to express the goal of their secret organization. These two important events show the real essence of the first cry, which is to serve as a signal of confirmation for Katipuneros' total defiance to their allegiance to Spain. And it is also the justification for the official beginning of the Philippine Revolution against the Spaniard. First cry controversy and conflicts. Controversy about this particular event actually arises especially in the specific dates and place where this cry particularly happened. This controversy remains unsolved in the Philippine history since different Filipinos have varying accounts as to when and where it happened. There are different authors and accounts kung saan nga ba nangyari o naganap ang first cry. The next reporter will discuss about it. That's all. Thank you.
So now, let's talk about the Masangkay Cry exposed. So, the public dispute between Guillermo Masangkay and Dr. Pio Valenzuela about the cry appeared leading in the Philippine newspaper of the late 1920s and early 1930s. The Masangkay side of dispute is herein presented in two parts. Part 1 is based on a preliminary draft on an article found in the Masangkay papers that was published in La Opinion issue of 6 December 1929. Part 2 is based on a draft of article in a response to Valenzuela's statement in a La Vanguardia that the cry of Balintawak did not take place on 26 August 1896. In original, all pages of the section manuscript signed by Guillermo Masangkay, italics for emphasis provided by the author. So, what actually happened during that? So, at the invitation of Andres Bonifacio, the revolutionaries assembled in Balintawak. So, at an invitation of Andres Bonifacio, the revolutionary, dito sila nag-assemble sa Balintawak. There, Bonifacio, second-handed by Emilio Jacinto, courageously lead out the plan for a general uprising against the Spanish government. It was there where Bonifacio and other Katipuneros tore up their cedulas as a sign of rebellion against the Spanish sovereignty. Pantas, Valenzuela, and Plata were those whom in vain opposed the uprising. So, while this assembly was being held, the alarm was raised that the civil guards were coming. The first to flee in order to save themselves were Pantas and Valenzuela. For their reason, they could not have heard the supreme cry that launched the fight for the independence of the Philippines at the moment. Neither did they smell the gunpowder of the first shots. Shortly after submitting themselves to Spaniards, they were deported. What Pacheco ought to say, was his father, not he, who was assembled as a treasurer of Katipunan. Right away, Dr. Valenzuela was the revolutionary were never said that that it was never in Pugadlawin. It from Kangkong in Balintawak. They went toward Balara, where bloody encounters with the enemy took place. As the veracity of which I speak proof the account contained in the issues of the El Comercio and Diario de Manila of that time, which are in public library. Moreover, one can look at the work of Retana, Viday, Ekrestodel, and Dr. Rizal. So that was stated in the book. So the-search ko kuan para masabtan o unsa ba yun ang nahitabo sa Damasangkay Cry Expose. So there are different dates and places of the cry. So naay daghan-daghan nga dates o place o asa ba gyud nahitabo ang cry. So first, Guaida Civil, ingon ni Olegario Diaz, identified that the cry happened on Balintawak on 25 August 1896. Ya, si Teodoro Calao, usa siya ka Filipino historian marks that the place to be in Kangkong in Balintawak on the last week of August. Ningon po siya nga ang cry nahitabo kuno dito sa Kangkong, Balintawak sa last week sa August 1896. Yan, ingon po si Santiago Alvarez. Si Santiago Alvarez is anak siya ni Mariano Alvarez, usa ka katipunero, leader of Magdiwang Faction, put the cry in Bahay Toro in Quezon City on 24 August 1896. Nya si Pio Valenzuela, niingon po siya, si Pio Valenzuela is a known katipunero and a privy to many events concerning the katipunan, stated that the cry happened in Pugadlawin on 23 August 1896. Nya si historian si Gregorio Zaidi, iya gi-identify that the cry have happened in Balintawak on August 26, 1896. Nya si Teodoro Agoncillo put it on Pugadlawin on 23 August 1896 according to the, so nag-base rin siya sa statement ni Pio Valenzuela. Next is research by the historians Milagros Guerrero, Emmanuel Encarnacion, and Ramon Villegas claim that the event took place on Tandang Soras Barn in Gulod, Barangay Banlat, Quezon City on August 24. Niingon po si Gregoria de Jesus. Si Gregoria de Jesus is siya yung ang wife ni Andres Bonifacio. Niingon siya na pagka August 25, 1896 dito kuno nahitabo sa Pasong Tamong Caloocan in the area ra gihapon sa Balintawak. So now let's talk about the primary source of Guillermo Masangkay. So niingon dito sa account ni Guillermo Masangkay na on August 26, a big meeting was held in Balintawak at the house of Apolonio Samson din Cabeza, Barrio Caloocan. So pagka August 26 kuno, usa ka dako nga meeting ang nahitabo dito sa Balintawak sa bahay kuno ni Apolonio Samson. Among who attended were ang mga ni-attend ato is si Bonifacio, Emilio Jacinto, Aguedo del Rosario, Tomas Remigio, Precio Pantas, Teodoro Plata, Pio Valenzuela, Enrique Pacheco, and Francisco Querion. They were all leaders of the Katipunan and composed as the board of directors. So about 9 o'clock in the morning of August 26, the meeting was open and ang ga-preside ato is si Andres Bonifacio, niya Emilio Jacinto act as a secretary. So the purpose was to discuss when the uprising was take place. So niingon dito si Andres Bonifacio, he told the people waiting outside that the leaders was arguing against the starting revolution early and appealed to them in fairy speech, in which he said, niingon siya ngadto nga, you remember the fate of our countrymen were shot in Bagong Bayan. Should we return now to the towns, the Spaniards will only shoot us. Poor organization has been discovered and we are all marked men. If we don't start the uprising, the Spaniards will get us anyway. What then do you say? Naman si Bonifacio. So Bonifacio then asked the people to give a pledge that they were to revolt. He told them that the sign of slavery of the Filipinos where the Sedulas tax changed its citizen. So, and destroying the Sedulas means that they are ready to revolt. So, ningon si Andres Bonifacio nga ang pagpunit sa Sedula mao ang nagpahibaw nga ready na sila para mo revolt against the Spanish government. It will be the sign that all of them declares their severance from the Spaniard. The first place of refuge of Andres Bonifacio, Emilio Jacinto, Procopio Bonifacio, Teodoro Plata, Aguedo del Rosario, and Pio Valenzuela was Balintawak, the first 5 arriving there on August 19. Sa Pio Valenzuela, ningon po siya nga ito pagka August 20, 1896. Now, let's move to the primary source of Pio Valenzuela. So, ningon dito si Pio Valenzuela that the first place where some 500 members of the Katipunan met on August 22, 1896 was the house and yard of Apolonio Samson at Kangkong. It was at Pugadlawin, the house, storehouse and yard of Juan Ramos, son of Melchora Aquino, where over 1,000 members of Katipunan met and carried out a considerable debate and discussion on August 23, 1896. So, niingon dito si Pio Valenzuela nga nahitabo kuno ang first cry kay ito kuno sa Pugadlawin. Sa yard kuno ni Juan Ramos, son of Melchora Aquino. The discussion was on whether or not the revolution against the Spanish government should be started on August 29, 1896. And many people shout and tired the Sedulas ni Syagit kuno dito ang mga Pilipino nga pagpunit sa Sedula nga long live Philippines, long live Philippines. Dito diri na punta sa from the eyewitness account presented, there is indeed marked disagreement among historical witness as to the place and time of the accurate of the cry. So, using primary and secondary sources, so 4 places have been identified. So, upat ka places na nag-indicate og kuan asa ba nahitabo ang first cry. So, first in Balintawak, kadua Kangkong, katulo is Pugadlawin, and last is Bahay Toro. While the dates vary on 23, 24, 25, or 26 August 1896. So, Valenzuela's account should be read with caution. So, ang account ko ni Valenzuela is read with caution. Ingon siya dito na he told the Spanish investigator that the cry happened in Balintawak on Wednesday, 26 August 1896. So, niingon si Pio Valenzuela nga to sa Spanish investigator nga nahitabo kuno ang cry dito kuno sa Balintawak on Wednesday, 26 August 1896. Much later, he wrote in his Memoirs of Revolution that it happened in Pugadlawin on 23 August 1896. Pagkakuha na to ni sulti man sad siya, iya man sad giswat dito sa iyang Memoirs sa Revolution nga dili sa Balintawak kundi dito sa Pugadlawin on 23 August 1896. So, mao nang nahimong read with caution ang account ni Pio Valenzuela. And according to Guerrero, Encarnacion, and Villegas, all of these places are in Balintawak na karon part of Caloocan na karon Quezon City na. So, as for the dates, ug sa mga dates ta magbase, Bonifacio and his troops may have been moving from one place to another to avoid being located by the Spanish government. So, si Bonifacio siguro ang iyang mga kaupod is his troops may have been moving. So, nagsige siguro sila balhin-balhin one place to another to avoid nga malocate sila sa Spanish government. Which could explain that there are several accounts of the cry. So, mao nang nagstorya nga daghang nagstorya og asa ba gyud nahitabo ang first cry. Now, let's move to let's move to Pantas in the Masangkay Cry Expose. So, background, the document begins by explaining the circumstances leading the discovery of the Katipunan. So, this revelation is attributed to Father Mariano Gil. So, kinsa man ni si Father Mariano Gil? So, Father Mariano Gil is a parish priest of Tondo who learned about the organization. So, siya mo ay nakaibaw sa organization dito ni Teodoro Patino. Nibaw niya nga ang organization ni Andres Bonifacio ngadto kang Teodoro Patino. Si Teodoro Patino is a dismissed drum collector. Patino disclosed the existence of Katipunan to Father Mariano Gil, implicating Policarpio Tarlac, a typesetter who had fallen into financial difficulties and was unable to support Patino. As a result, Tarlac and several of his colleagues at the Ramirez and Girader printing establishment were arrested, marking the beginning of the crackdown of the Katipuneros. So, despite of this discovery, the principal leaders of the Katipunan were not immediately apprehended. So, bisan pa sa pagka-discover, ang mga leader sa Katipunan, wala sila dayon na-apprehend, suggesting a level of disorganization or oversight on the part of the Spanish authorities. So, departure from the Balintawak, as a news of the arrest spread rapidly throughout in Manila. So, pagkahibaw nga i-arresto sila ni kalat dayon dito sa Manila, and Andres Bonifacio and his compatriots sought refuge in Balintawak. Nya mao na to ang kuan nga this area become the gathering point of the Katipuneros. Ang Balintawak mao to ang nahimo nilang gathering point from nearby towns and villages. Here they initiated many able-bodied adult males into the Katipunan, significantly increasing their numbers. So, what was discussed all about? So, during their gathering, so during atong pag-gather nila, the leaders discussed the urgency of launching a revolt against the Spanish rule. Many attendees were filled with patriotic fervor, but were ill-equipped for armed conflict. So, as most possessed only rudimentary weapons, like nagdala sila dito bolos, wooden sticks, or bamboo lances. Recognizing the dire situation, Bonifacio called for a meeting at Kangkong, not in Balintawak, to devise a strategy that would not jeopardize the broader revolutionary cause. So, Mr. Masangkay, who was the author of the document, iyang claimed that he was not privy for the specific of this discussion. Kay ingon siya nga to nga he was not present on the meetings. So, wala siya ato pagkahitabuha. He suggests that he could have been elsewhere during these significant events. Order for an uprising. While a meeting was taking place, Spanish civil guards approached without any prior warning. So, pagkahuman nilag meeting, ang Spanish civil guards, niyato dayon, wala nagpibaw. The guards arrived 2 days after Bonifacio had communicated with the revolutionary government about the uprising. So, this indicates that lack of effective communication and preparedness among sa mga Katipuneros. So, what happened? Isidoro Plata and Pio Valenzuela and Pantas were dispatched by Bonifacio from Pugadlawin on specific mission. So, si Isidoro Plata, Pio Valenzuela ug Pantas gipangadto ni Andres Bonifacio sa Pugadlawin para sa mga specific nga mga mission. Unfortunately, they were captured. So, nakit-an sila and they were tortured and imprisoned. Valenzuela experienced a similar fate after completing his task. So, si Valenzuela, na-experience po niya ang na-experience nila ni Teodoro Plata o Pio Valenzuela ug ni Pantas. nga dakop gitorture. Pagkahuman niya pagkakompleto niya sa iyang task dito sa Pasig and Pateros. The document notes that Plata was executed in the bagong bayan na karon Luneta, and it dismissed contemporary in the newspaper account from source like El Comercio and Diario de Manila nga dili reliable nga mga sources ang El Comercio and Diario de Manila, that which caused indignation. So the document expresses indignation over accusations made against the Chris Katipuneros, particularly Teodoro Plata and Tomas Remigio, suggesting that they were falsely implicated as traitor. So the author defends the moral integrity of the Katipunan, stating that it could not have been established a secret court for executing its members. Instead, the organization had a board of judges that imposed only mild punishment, emphasizing the group commitment to its ethical doctrines. So, the document raises critical questions about the historical accuracy of events, particularly regarding to the cry of Pugad Lawin. So, i-question nga to whether the significant meeting occurred pagka kuan ba August 23, 1896 at Apolonio Samson's residency in Hong Kong, or if the cedulous community tax certifies were torn in Kangkong or Pugad Lawin. The author notes that Pio Valenzuela provided multiple accounts of the cry nga nagsuggest that